Hello, my name is Jessica Granger and I am a nursing instructor with Schreiner University. This is a brief overview of the updated American Psychological Association's 7th edition formatting, also referred to as APA. In this lesson, I will give a brief overview of the APA formatting of in-text citations and reference pages. Let's get started. In the fall of 2019, the 7th edition of the APA publication manual was released. This was the first new publication of the manual in approximately 10 years. On the screen you will see two images. The first is the 7th edition and the one you will need to have access to for this program. The second image is the last edition, the 6th edition. The APA manual will always be your ultimate source for what is correct and your how-to guide for all things APA. You may find some websites and blogs that have resources available, but remember, they may not be 100% in line with the manual. The link you see listed in the middle of the page is a direct link to the APA Style Guide and is the most accurate website guide on the internet. I have included the information to the Logan Library at Schreiner should you have any questions and wish to speak with a Logan librarian. Another great resource is Perla. Perla is a paid computer software that integrates with Microsoft Word to help you with APA. There is a free month trial available, and if you choose to continue, there is a small yearly fee. You are not required to purchase this software. It is just one of many other resources out there that may help you with APA formatting. If you want some more information about Perla, visit the website listed on the screen. Now let's get started with specifics for references and in-text citations. Before we go any further, let's talk about the P word, plagiarism. You may ask yourself, why is there a lot of fuss about referencing and giving credit to authors of work? Well, to put it simply, because it's the ethical thing to do. Another importance is that for any reader who may stumble upon your paper or article or project, you need to be able to source and provide the reader a way for them to look up the information to verify its accuracy. Have you ever been told a statement about best practices by another nurse and questioned if it was true? Perhaps you questioned if the statement was taken out of context. Providing references and sources is our way of validating and verifying information to ensure that we are in fact providing the most up-to-date evidence-based practice for our patients. If credit is not given, or if not properly and fully sourced, it is considered plagiarism. There are two forms, deliberate plagiarism and unintentional. So unintentional is when you not knowingly write something and source it appropriately. Obviously, deliberate plagiarism is when you have the intention to copy a sentence from the internet and use it without sorting because you think, nobody's going to catch me, nobody will ever know. Both are forms of plagiarism and may be reported to the Office of Student Conduct. So let's talk about how we avoid the unintentional plagiarism. As you write a paper or you create a poster or project, you should provide what is called in-text citations. There should be a citation within or at the end of every sentence that contains information that is not common knowledge and that was influenced by another source of information. Please note, if it's obvious that the information between each sentence is from the same source, you technically do not have to cite each source at the end of each sentence, but it needs to be obvious that the sentences are connected to the same source. Academic writing should be mostly paraphrased and summarized content. Limit the amount of direct quotes used. Each instructor will have their own guidelines for this cutoff. Remember this, though. Providing direct quotes shows your instructor that you know how to find information. Paraphrasing and summarizing content shows your instructor that you understand the information you are writing about, which is entirely more important. Note the differences between the two in-text citations on the page. Include page numbers for direct quotes. On the screen, I've provided examples of in-text citations for sources authored by 1, 2, or 3 or more authors. Please note the differences between each. At the end of the sentence, you will include an in-text citation before the punctuation mark, which will most likely be a period. Write your sentence, then use a parenthesis to include the author's last name, year of publication, and page number if it's a direct quote. End the citation with a closing parenthesis and a period. Only include the last name. Do not include the first name initials as you would in the reference page. Use commas between items and use the ampersand symbol between two authors. Do not write out the word and. For 3 or more authors, use the et al. With a period after all followed by a comma. You may choose to include the author's names in a sentence for in-text citations. I've provided examples of the proper way to cite each source on this page. Remember, all in-text citations need the following components: author or authors, last name, year of publication, and a page number if you're directly quoting. Please review this page. For quotes that are longer than 40 words, there are special rules. You do not use quotation marks and instead place the direct quote in a freestanding block. I suggest that you only use long direct quotes if it is absolutely necessary to keep the original wording intact. Examples of this would be if you're quoting specific language from a policy or a legislative bill. If you choose to include a long direct quote in your paper, refer to your APA manual to ensure that it has proper APA formatting. The current 7th edition, you would need to reference pages 272 through 273. Sometimes you may choose to include information in one sentence from more than one source. This is very common in a literature review. For example, you found 2 or 3 articles all saying that nurses are awesome. You would then write out the sentences about nurses being awesome and include all 3 sources in one in-text citation. Each citation should be separated by a semicolon, but you would want to make sure that you order each of the sources alphabetically. There is an example on the screen of a in-text citation including 2 separate sources. Now let's talk about the reference page. At the end of your paper or project, you should include a reference page. A reference page contains a full listing of details from each source you use throughout your paper or project. To create a reference page, you would go to the top of your Word document, click on Insert, then click Page Break to separate the body of your paper from your references. A reference page should always start on a new and separate page. At the top, you will then title the page References. References should be alphabetized by first author, double space, and using a hanging indent of 1/2 inch. See the photo on the page for correct formatting. Journal articles will be the most commonly referenced source in academic writing. With access to the internet and online library databases, finding articles has never been easier for students. This screen contains a screenshot directly from the APA Style Guide of the information and components needed for properly formatting a journal's article's reference. Changes from the 6th edition include no longer writing out DOI before the number at the end of the reference. You now include the direct link to the DOI, which includes the letters HTTPS. A common mistake many students make in writing references is the title of the article. You only capitalize the first word of the title and any proper nouns. The only other time you would capitalize a word in the title is if the title contains a colon, and then you capitalize the first word after that. This page contains a reference for a book. You will rarely quote a book in this program, but this slide provides you with a direction on how to do so. You may also refer to your APA manual. To reference most textbooks, you will use this formatting on the screen. Most of the time, a textbook is edited by 1 or more editors, and each chapter is authored by a different person. Sometimes the chapters are authored by one of the editors, and sometimes it's somebody completely different. The book's cover typically contains the editor's names, and you can find the chapter authors on the first page of each chapter throughout the book. If you do not see a separate author's name for each chapter, you will use the previous slide's formatting for your reference page. Citing a website can be daunting. Often, it is not easy to find the information required to properly format the reference. Please refer to your APA guide for help when referencing an online web page. This slide contains some more information that you might find useful. There is another resource that I wanted to mention. Within Microsoft Word, there actually is an APA template that you might find useful. The only caveat to this is that Microsoft has not updated the template to the new 7th edition as of January of 2020. You will need to make the changes to comply with the new 7th edition. If you decide to use the template for the 6th edition, know that you are responsible for ultimately ensuring it meets the standards of the 7th edition. There aren't many changes, but there are a few. Some of the changes, but like I just said, not all, refer to the formatting of running headers, and that there's only now one space required between sentences. Previously, it required 2 spaces. To find the template, open up a new Word document and search for APA. You will see probably 1 or 2 options, and you will select the most recent edition. If the 7th edition has been released, you will see it noted on the screen. Choose that one. If you have any questions, please contact the Logan Library librarians or your course instructor. Happy learning!